You know what? My gut says don't. My gut says do what makes you happy. Dan Larson here at the photo booth with my top 10 figures of 2020. First up, let's go over the rules. Number one, to be eligible for this list, a figure had to be released in 2020. There's some wiggle room for figures released in the last few weeks of the previous year. For example, the Super Skrull Wave Reed Richards, this one here. Oh God, I have to be so careful. It took so long to set this stuff up. Yeah, go in the other room, kitten. This is the Super Skrull Wave. Can my camera focus? There we go. Super Skrull Wave, Reed Richards. This is just the head from that figure. I put the head on a different body. Anyway, this is with the very handsome head. It was becoming available in the waning days of 2019. I was not able to acquire it before the calendar rolled over. If I had, it probably would have been number one on my top 10 of 2019. Since I wasn't able to get it until early 2020, I count it for 2020. That said, because of its unusual status as a member of the Dan's Collection Hall of Fame, I'm awarding it super honorable mention status. It doesn't rank in the top 10 for 2019 or 2020. Instead, it is eternally great. Number two, I had to purchase a figure for it to be considered. It should be obvious that if I did not purchase it, it is automatically disqualified from entry. But that also includes things I wanted to get but couldn't, either because they were sold out or my pre-order got canceled or whatever. It's very possible that Masters of the Universe Origins Scareglow would have made a run at the top 10, but my pre-order was canceled and I have not been able to acquire it anywhere else. So sorry, Mattel, you lose. Number three, an item that was given to me as a gift or a review sample from a company or something sent into our P.O. box can still count if it was something I was going to purchase anyway, like RED Soundwave. You can just see him just in frame. He's right here, back up in the back. Or even just, not that Superman. You can't see it yet. Unchained Armor Superman was the same case, came into the P.O. box. And then one other, so those are the three rules. It had to be released in 2020. I had to purchase it. And then if it was given to me, if it was something I was going to buy anyway, it can still be considered. One other honorable mention before we begin. I did purchase the Hot Toys Boba Fett in Kenner homage colors, but I'm not including that because to me, Hot Toys just don't belong in the same category as all of this other stuff. It will go in the Dan's Collection Hall of Fame immediately, so there is no need to determine if it's better than Wheeljack, because obviously it is. It's in the Hall of Fame. And then one last thing to keep in mind, the order in which I pull stuff out of this lot is completely random. It has nothing to do with whether it was better or worse than any of the other figures still in the booth. It just means it's not in the top 10 and I don't need to think about it anymore. That said, whichever piece is your favorite, I hope it gets to stay in as long as possible, but I offer no apologies for when it gets bounced, if it gets bounced. In frame right now is among other things, the top 10 as it has been set since my top 10 of 2020 so far, part 3, back in September. If you want to see how we got to this point, go back and watch that video before proceeding any further, or you can go all the way back and watch parts 1 and 2 as well. They are in no particular order here because I couldn't bear the strain of ordering them after the elimination process in the last video. They are over here in the corner, Storm Collectibles Golden Axe Skeletons 2-pack. I only have one in the booth right now for efficiency purposes. The other one looks exactly the same. McFarlane Toys Hellbat over here in the back. McFarlane Toys Superman, Jazzwares Fortnite Sentinel, Diamond Select Rocketeer, McFarlane Toys Spawn, where are we at here? Hasbro Transformers Earthrise Optimus Prime, Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Destro, Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes. This one is technically a hybrid of both the Pulse exclusive release and the mass retail release. That's why you won't see the other figure in the booth anywhere. And then, of course, lastly, up front here is the Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures Boba Fett. I am going to go ahead and set those figures, those specific figures aside here until we are done, until we're a little closer, till I've eliminated some figures, got a little more space in the booth. Then I'll cycle back around and put these guys back in frame. For now, they're going to sit over here. Just going to pull these guys. Just getting a little taste of pulling stuff out of the booth. All right, all that's left is to pull my camera up so we can see the whole field. And then, yeah, just time to feel the pain. Let's eliminate some figures. I'm just gonna start anywhere here. This is everything I bought this year, so these are all, every one of these figures has, you know, some value, some merit for being in my collection, something that's important to me. There's really not much here that I bought that I didn't want, so I'm just gonna pick any. I can start anywhere because only 10 can be in the final, so a lot of these are gonna have to go. So there's really no point in just kind of it's like jump right. All right, we'll just start here. It's so hard. Jeez. I just want to reiterate once again that the order in which these are taken out has no bearing, and that's not so much that I'm telling you that. I'm telling myself that. I'm reminding myself that, you know, I'm not necessarily saying that these figures are better than the figures I just pulled. They're not. They're just, you know, they're just still here, and I'm still having trouble, you know, making my eliminations and stuff. I'm working on it though. And the other hard part about this is like there's what I thought about the figures before I got them. There's what I thought about the figures when I got them. And then there's how I feel about the figures now that I've lived with several of these for a while. It's hard to gauge, you know, the new stuff is always new and shiny and fresh versus the stuff that came out earlier in the year. You know, Rocketeer, who's currently in the top 10, Rocketeer was one of the first figures that came out this year, so it's hard to judge that against a figure that, you know, Gigawatt's newer, Megatron's newer, the Cobra Infantry Trooper's newer. They're all newer, so it's like, well, you know, do I like this figure because it's newer, or do I like it because it's actually a better figure? These are the things I struggle with constantly, 24 hours a day. You know, I've really been dreading some of these decisions. Like that top 10 in at part 3 was a very solid top 10, and you know, it's got to be good enough to beat one of those 10 for me to keep it in the booth right now. Like, you know, is Maverick better than at least one figure that was already in that top 10 to be able to eliminate it? You know, they're such strong figures already. And the problem is, you know, G.I. Joe being back this year, there's so many good G.I. Joe figures. I don't want to have a top 10 that's all G.I. Joe. But if that's what it is, that's what it is. You know, these guys were a bit of a disappointment. I thought they were going to be a lock, and ultimately I didn't even end up buying all 3. I saw Optimus in person and passed on it, I think, twice. I'd still like to grab it at some point, but it just, the urgency went away. I thought for sure I was going to be giving, you know, at least 2 top 10 spots to those guys, but, you know, as it stands, Soundwave might get in. This is another one that's tough. Like, you know, everything that's here is just screaming, yeah, you know, this is easily a top 10 figure. Spikes, you know, glass dome, flaming skull and a glass dome, space armor, Jetsons bracelets, skull, you know, armor on the chest. And for whatever reason, I love this character. The comics are fantastic. I don't care for the bike design, even though I get that, you know, it's a crazy space bike. But for whatever reason, this character, this figure in particular, I love it. It just, I don't know if I top 10 love it this year. I could see this being in the 11 through 20 though, even though I'm pulling it now and there's way more figures still in the booth. I've been struggling with the decision. I've known since back in September what those top 10 figures were, and every time I grab something new, it's like, oh man, is this good enough to bounce one of these 10 figures, It's a tough call. I think I mentioned that already. I think I mentioned that this is a tough thing. 4 different Halo figures, those guys really, I had so much fun with them, especially as a team, having, multiple figures. But with respect to the top 10, I think only one of them is going to make it, if they make it at all. So I got to hang on to the one that I like the most here. This one I gotta clear out. Obviously, if you've watched the show for any amount of time, my attachment to this figure. But given that it's a re-release of the original figure, it just feels weird to me to give it a top 10 spot, considering how many of the vintage ones that I have, and that there are so many other new things that came out this year that I would rather give that distinction to. Wing was a bit of a disappointment. I still like it a lot. I just was expecting a bit more from it. It looks great like this. The wings are nice. Little bit of a different aesthetic look from the designs that have been out there for several years, especially in action figure form. I have no idea why they decided to put the limitations on the wings the way they did. They're not nearly as articulated as every other wing figure I've ever had. And that actually let me down quite a bit. Again, I thought all 3 of this wave, Wing, Ale Strike, or Strike Gundam, it's not Ale Strike, it doesn't have the wings. So Strike Gundam, this Gundam, and then the Easy 8, I thought all 3 of them would be in the top 10, but I don't know. Something about them just didn't quite hit the way I was hoping that they would this year. All right. So what I'm going to do is, now that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now that we've got 7 left here, I'm going to grab the other 10 and put them back in frame, and then we'll build from there, or destroy from there. I wasn't sure if this year I was going to have to try to decide between the retail release of Spawn versus the Kickstarter release of Spawn. I know that Kickstarter is starting to ship now. I don't know if anybody's actually received their Kickstarter figures yet, other than Shartimus. I saw that he had done his review, but I didn't get mine yet. So, so for me, that's a 2021 release, and that's how that works. There were a couple other Kickstarters that, or items that shipped recently. I got my some Plunderlings samples in the other day, but I still haven't received the one that I actually, purchased through the Kickstarter. So for me, again, that's a 2021 release. Boss Fight sent in some Zorro, some of their Hero Hacks figures, Zorro and Flash Gordon. Those haven't technically retail released. Oh, that's a 2021 release. Anytime I can find any excuse to eliminate someone from contention, that makes this whole thing a heck of a lot easier, because it's so hard. It's tough. Destro is a really great figure in and of himself. Cobra Infantry Trooper, really great figure, and obviously Snake Eyes, but it's like, I almost want to give that slot to G.I. Joe and just pull one figure and open up another slot for something else. Zeb it completes the Rebels. Whether or not I love that figure individually by itself, I love Rebels so much that I almost feel like I have to include that because it finally completed that team. War Machine has always been my favorite of the Iron Man suits and designs. So having another War Machine, especially this one, it's so super sharp and nice, built on that 80th anniversary Iron Man body. It's really, really great. Hellbat, I thought Hellbat was going to be a lock for sure, but this loose hip thing just disappointed me so much, and I never really saw another one. And even if I did see another one, I didn't feel like dropping another, $20 to get another one of these. And I didn't. Ultimately, I really did not love the way the wings were handled, but still a great figure. And Maverick, oh Mav, I know I'm stuck on the just weird nostalgia trip of this thing even existing. The Maverick helmet, it looks terrible. They did a terrible job painting it. It's small. It's basically just a Robotech, Valkyrie or a Macross Veritech. The robot mode is gangly and weird. The jet mode is fantastic, but has this absolutely terrible paint job on it. It's contextually, maybe it makes more sense within the movie, but just You know, the weapons aren't great. I love the fact that he comes with the volleyball, but just, I know that I'm stuck on the fact that this exists, but the reality is that, you know, it's not better than any of these, you know, other figures that are here. But I kind of want to keep it in just because of 2020 being what 2020 was, and that this exists, and the story behind it should have been launched with the movie. The movie got delayed, so I'm really struggling with that one. I've always really loved the infantry troopers, the generic sort of grunts, whether it's the good guys or the bad guys. Love that Cobra infantry guy. You know, this, I can't remember what his name is, the Marauder from Doom, I believe, which I've never played. Just a fun figure. Really McFarlane flexing this year and showing what they're capable of, you know, back with just super detailed stuff at the same price that everybody else is charging, but with, you know, pretty good articulation on most of their stuff. Obviously, it's not the best, but they're getting there, and they're making improvements every time they put out a wave. So I wish I could just say I'm done right now, but that's not the gig, right? So I gotta eliminate a few more things here. Superman, I'm just a sucker for Superman. This is a pretty good McFarlane. And the fact that it is a McFarlane figure at all, the fact that McFarlane got the DC license this year and was able to produce, you know, DC figures is just, that's just a mind-blowing thing. A crossover I never really expected to see happen. It's just ridiculous that occurred. All right, I gotta eliminate somebody here. I'm just going with my gut from here on out, so... That means that Zeb's out. It means that the Cobra Trooper's out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I gotta eliminate a bunch more here. Look, I love Destro, but like I said, I think Snake Eyes is just going to be the ultimate the candidate to represent all of G.I. Joe. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. All right, we still got to drop 4 more here, guys. I think, you know, I didn't think Soundwave was going to make it, but I'm having second thoughts because I love Soundwave so much. It's just, I'm falling into those traps of nostalgia. The same characters I've always liked, updated versions of them. If there was a Captain America here, I wouldn't have been shocked, but I actually didn't pick up any of the Captain Americas this year because they just weren't that great. This is figures that I've had fun with this year, that I really anticipated, that I was happy to see finally get delivered. I'm making excuses. I'm just need to shut up and make some eliminations. All right, you're out. Oh God, I still got to eliminate 3 more. All right, it's not. Snake Eyes is in. There's no doubt. Rocketeer is in. There's no doubt. Who's on the cusp here? Sentinel is in. Boba Fett is in. Spawn is in. Skeletons are in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Optimus is pretty much the best Optimus that has ever been released, in my opinion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These guys I had so much fun with. 8. Oh, can't see them in frame. 8. Leaves us with 2 slots for 4 characters. I thought every one of these was a lock at some point. You know what? My gut says don't. My gut says do what makes you happy. Love you, War Machine, but you're out. And you know, if Soundwave had come with a bird mode Laserbeak and a bird mode Ravage, I think he's a lock. That folded cassette Laserbeak is really cool. Alternate hands is really cool. You know, it's Maverick. It's Maverick that's killing me here. It's Maverick that's making this hard because I just love the jet mode. The robot mode is just a mess, though. There's so much wrong with it. But, you know, yeah, it's... Oof. All right. 6, 7, 8. Just got to get rid of one. 2 can stay. I got to get rid of one. What are we doing here? I didn't think Soundwave was gonna last this long. For sure. There's no way. And that's why... do I need another Superman in here? I love Superman though. And I'm probably gonna end up getting a cloth cape for that, but should that downgrade it because I'm customizing it? This thing. So here's the list. Number 10 is Hasbro Transformers Top Gun Maverick. Clearly the most controversial pick on the list for me as well. I am torn apart by this thing. On the one hand is my nostalgia for Top Gun when I was a kid, thinking that I was going to be Maverick when I grew up. On the other hand is a toy so deeply flawed that I cannot in good conscience recommend it to anyone but me. The F-14 mode is fantastic, but the paint application is abysmal. I don't care what role it plays in the film, if we ever get to see it. I think it's like a static display on a military base or something. I don't know if that's the purpose of the faux dirt paint job. Even if it is, it looks terrible. And I don't say things like that lightly. It looks bad. The plastic feels cheap. It's almost translucent in spots. You can go back and check out the booth video we did with this specific figure in it and hear a lot more of my disappointment there. It makes my list because I cannot escape who I am and what I love. Even with the gangly robot mode and terribly misprinted helmet deco, I love F-14s. I loved Top Gun when I was a kid. I am stupidly excited for the sequel, even though it too will likely break my heart. This thing is such a Robotech ripoff that I cannot believe they aren't being sued. But the absurdity that it exists, the amazing F-14 mode, the likelihood that I will never see anything like this ever again, unless and until this gets reused as a G.I. Joe Sky Striker crossover piece, forces me to give it the lowest spot possible in my top 10, just to acknowledge its existence in this incredibly upside down year. Number 9 is McFarlane Toys Superman. I like Superman. I'm not sure if this is the best Superman figure ever or even the best one that I own, but I sure do like it, and it was an unexpected surprise, not only for McFarlane to get the license, but for this figure to be so nice. It's not perfect, the proportions are weird, the joints lack sophistication, it's really hard to turn his head, and the hips are terrible, specifically the weird rubber underpants that limit the degree to which you can move those hips. But, you know, I prefer a cloth cape, and he really should have come with 2 open hands and 2 punching hands. Definitely recommended for anyone looking for a decent Superman, and it's worth the regular price for sure. All that said, it's Superman, I like it, and this is the main Superman in my collection on my shelf, and if I need the character for photos. At number 8 is the Storm Collectibles Golden Axe Skeletons 2-pack. Several different companies and Kickstarters have, to varying degrees of success in recent years, attempted to release fully articulated skeletons. This is the best set that I've seen at this scale, which is technically 7 inches, but they work for 6 inch as well if you're not standing them straight up next to a 6-inch figure. If you were able to get them while initially available, the price was great as well. An astounding degree of posability, multiple handsets, articulated jaw, a sword and shield for each of them. Absolutely recommend to everyone who wants fully posable skeletons with angry eye sockets. I've thoroughly enjoyed these figures this year and expect them to be showing up in photos year-round for a long time to come. Number 7 is Jazzware's Halo Spartan Collection. This figure is here as a representative of the 4 figures that were in Wave 1. There's this red trooper, there's the green Master Chief, blue trooper, and a white trooper. I'm sure they have some distinguishing characteristics that are relevant to the game and the mythology, but I'm not interested in either of those things. I like the suit designs, I like the different colors, I love the chrome visors. Articulation is good, but there are some issues, and quality control on these has been terrible. I've heard too many stories from people about loose joints, busted joints, limbs that fall off, hands that can't hold weapons. My green Master Chief Trooper, the arm popped right off out of the package. It snaps back on, but it is super loose. And several of the toe joints make it impossible for the figure to be posed in certain positions. But this year especially, it was all about indulging in the things that made me happy, even in the smallest ways. These 4 figures were on my desk since I acquired them. I had fun imagining them as Power Rangers, like a Power Ranger-style Sentai team. I love the chunky, colorful presentation and boatload of interchangeable hands. All that said, I can't recommend these to anyone but me. At number 6 is Hasbro Transformers Earthrise Optimus Prime. I've got more Optimus Primes than I even want. In the last several years, while the figures have been getting better, the time between releases seems to be getting shorter and shorter. Like they're running out of time with the license or something, or there's a multiplier for how many are on the store shelves at one time where they get bonus points or something. But Earthrise Optimus is the Optimus for my collection, a gorgeous, highly articulated figure with no ridiculous kibble. This guy can hit a pose, and it even has a great G1 truck mode and the trailer. And I even bought the Pulse exclusive accessory pack so I could have a roller, since this figure didn't come with one. As for the gun and the axe came from that Pulse exclusive accessory pack as well. This I can recommend to anyone who really needs a nice Optimus. I can confidently get rid of whatever G1 style Optimus I had in my collection because this is it for me. I'm sure there'll be another engineering leap in another 2 years or so, and I'll probably upgrade at that time. But if I never get another Optimus again, I'll be happy that this was the last one. At number 5 is McFarlane Toys Mortal Kombat 11 Spawn. There were a few figures that I was genuinely afraid I would miss this year. Spawn was one of them. I had pre-ordered it assuming that would allow me to skip the in-person hunt and any concerns about not being able to acquire it. This, to me, was an important figure. McFarlane finally bringing his signature character into the modern era of action figures, and it was looking really good. As time went by, I got more and more concerned that I wasn't going to find one. I saw other people's photos and reviews and was really starting to feel the pressure. Even though I had pre-ordered it, I caved and found one reasonably priced on eBay. Part of my decision was to back the Spawn Kickstarter was to assure myself that one way or another I was going to have a decent modern 6-inch figure in my collection. I've never been a huge Spawn fan, but this was an important figure in the history of action figures. McFarlane was such an important person in the advancement of figures from Toy Biz, from what Toy Biz was doing in the 90s to what action figures became in the 2000s, including Toy Biz coming back around with Legends in response to what McFarlane had been doing so successfully for so many years. Of course, even McFarlane's most articulated figures were still terrible back then, so this was a big deal to me. I never got my pre-order, but I'm glad to have made the purchase on eBay because I wanted to have the one with the sword, not the subsequent mace or axe releases, which I also never saw anywhere in person. The articulation is good but has some issues. The cape is rubbery and limits some poses, but I would absolutely recommend this to anyone who wants a Spawn in their collection if you can get it at a reasonable price, which should be possible after 3 separate releases. At number 4 is Diamond Select Rocketeer. I like the Rocketeer movie, I do not love it. I love the character design and the concept. There are definitely comic book stories that I have enjoyed that have been released since the film, but mostly I love the look, the helmet, the rocket pack, the jacket, the pistol, everything. Funko did a 6-inch scale Rocketeer figure back in 2015. In fact, it came in at number 8 on my personal top 10 that year. I thought that was it. I didn't think anybody else was ever going to take a shot at this for like forever. So when Diamond came out with this one, it was a welcome surprise. They went a step further, including the blast effects. You got a blueprint for the rocket pack, a different chest jacket cover here with a flap down, alternate head, a bunch of hands and stuff, all kinds of things. It is definitely an improvement over the Funko piece, so I knew when I picked it up, there was no way it wasn't going to make my personal top 10. And here it is. And if you're a Rocketeer fan, I highly recommend it. And if not, don't sweat it. And number 3 is Jazzware's Fortnite Sentinel. This is the 6-inch scale Legendary series, I think they're called. I don't play Fortnite. I tried it once or twice. Maybe I didn't do it right, but it just wasn't for me. If my recent Rocket League obsession is any indicator, I might start playing Fortnite in like 2025. That said, there are a lot of really great character designs, and last year I bought a bunch. Last year, 2019, I bought a bunch of Fortnite figures between Jazzwares and McFarlane. Sentinel is one of those designs that as soon as I saw it announced for the game, I crossed my fingers that either Jazzwares or McFarlane would get a figure done at some point. Jazzwares stepped up and got it done, and it is gorgeous. It's not perfect, but it is so much fun. Is it a Gundam? Is it Tallgeese? I love how it's evocative of those things. At the same time, it's kind of its own thing. I don't love the plastic they chose. I don't love some of the articulation choices. It's tough to get him to hold his weapons with that stupid finger articulation. I really can't recommend this figure to anyone but me. But as far as I'm concerned, this thing is pure joy. At number 2 is Hasbro G.I. Joe Classified Snake Eyes, and he's here representing the entire line. I can't believe that this entire G.I. Joe thing has happened in the course of a single year. In January of 2020, there were no 6-inch G.I. Joe figures, like, anywhere. It just wasn't a thing. I saw them in person for the first time at Toy Fair in February, just after the first pictures had hit online. I thought they looked great. I wasn't sold completely on the look just yet, but I was keeping my mind open to the modern aesthetic. The Pulse exclusive version of Snake Eyes hit in March, and then it was just a roller coaster of hunting and missing and scalping and just an absolute mess of distribution, and continues through today. My Snake Eyes here is a combination of both the regular retail release and the Hasbro Pulse version. Sort of pulled the things I liked about each one and just sort of put them together. It's really just the Pulse version's gear on the mass release body. So you got the regular black pants instead of the other pants from the Pulse version. But you know, I'm in on this line. I'm a longtime Joe fan, and I would like to be able to acquire them all, but Hasbro has to figure out the distribution approach like now. For all the fan excitement over the figures, they are burning goodwill like it's a renewable resource, and it is not. That said, there are a lot of figures that could be in this spot. I mean, almost this entire list could have been G.I. Joe figures. Snake Eyes, Duke, Cobra Trooper, Cobra Commander, Destro, Regular, and Prophet Director, Beachhead, all great pieces, and I hope that every Joe fan will at some point be able to get them into their collections. I'm happy G.I. Joe is back. I'm digging the designs. I'm looking forward to Flint later this year and whatever else is coming in 2021. And at number 1, Hasbro Galaxy of Adventures Boba Fett. And this should come as no surprise to anyone who has spent any time watching Toy Galaxy. Pretty sure I've said everything I could possibly say about this character. Or rather, the fact that I love the suit design, not so much the character, and that it is purely based on my love for the original Kenner figure from 1979. That said, a lot has happened with Boba Fett in canon this year, thanks to The Mandalorian, so we'll see where all that goes. If nothing else, a new Fett-centric show is coming out this December, so I will definitely be watching that. This figure is fun, cartoony, it's a fantastic animated interpretation of Fett. I already loved this line, so adding Fett was inevitable, and it was inevitable that I would love it. The number 1 spot has to go to the figure that, above all else, if I could only have one figure from this year, for me, it would absolutely be this Fett. Thanks for watching this and all of our videos this year. Please hit like, hit subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Make sure you head over to our main channel, Toy Galaxy, and subscribe there as well. Lots more videos over there. If you're in the position to help the channel grow, please visit our Patreon at patreon.com/toygalaxy or become a YouTube channel member. Please share this video and let us know in the comments down below what your top 10 was, or at the very least, the one figure you got this year that you wouldn't be able to live without. Thanks. Later.